Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. Today's project is a really simple one and I'm actually making it for myself. The nicer weather is coming up and as you can see I don't really have much hair and I need to protect my head in summer, especially when I want to go outside to the veggie patch. So what we're making today is just a nice lightweight head wrap which will protect your head from some of the sun. So this is it. This is Earl. He rocks these wraps better than I do. I will put it on later. So all we've got is an elastic banding at the back there. He has less hair than I do. And it sits across the top nicely. This fabric does need to be washed so the corners will settle down a little bit. But let's get to it. We're going to make this nice and quickly. It's very easy too. Now you don't need to concern yourself with different head measurements so much. Going around your head is going to be pretty much standard for most heads because you've got the elastic band at the back. So it's going to sit over your head or anybody's head quite nicely. If you do find it's too loose or too tight, you can shorten or lengthen the size of the elastic. But what you do want to do is measure from the top of your head down to the back of your neck and see how long you want to have that peak or that point going down the back of your head. So take the end of your tape measure and just put that roughly in the area where you want the point of your triangle to be. Bring that over the top of your head like that and just measure up to about there. And for me that's about 17 and a half inches, which is about 44 centimetres. So I will be using that size as a guide when I cut my fabric out. I'll put the measurements up on the screen soon. Let's get to it. Alright, so this is all I'm going to need today is a piece of fabric for the head. This is the scrunchy side of the band, and then we need a piece of elastic. Now the width that we're going with across here is 17 and a half inches, which is about 44 centimetres across. This will be your length, so the front of your head to the back of your head. So when you measure down, that's the longest point because we're going to be turning this into a triangular shape. So if you want something a little bit longer, then just make this piece of fabric a little bit longer. But for me, I've decided to go with a 17 and a half by 17 and a half inch square because I think that that's enough to go to the back of the head. The first thing we need to do is shape this piece of fabric. So I'm going to fold this in half across here. I probably picked the worst fabric for me to show you markings on it. So I've got the 17 and a half inch piece of fabric folded in half, and then front to the back of the head is the long side. From the bottom edge here, I'm going to measure up 3.5 inches or 9 centimetres, and I've got the fold on my left and the two raw edges on my right. I'll make a mark across here. So once you've got that marked there, just line that up nice and evenly, and then we can get a straight edge, and we're going to mark a line from here all the way up to the corner on the folded edge. You should be able to see that yellow line there. So what we're going to do now is cut straight across there. So you can scissor cut that, or if you've got a rotary cutter and ruler, you can cut straight along. And that's what I'll be doing now. And separate that fabric. We don't need this anymore. And this is the piece for our scarf. So we've got a straight edge along here and the straight edge on this side. So now what you can do is turn this the wrong way up, and we're going to fold the edge of the diagonal over just by 1/4 inch. And you can press those edges over all the way down to the straight edge. You'll do the same on this side, and then you'll do the same on this side. So I'm going to quickly go and fold all of these edges over, then I'm going to press it. So when you do fold these two edges over, you want to be very careful. You've got a bias cut edge, which means you've opened up the stretch in the fabric, and it's going to distort very, very easily if you're not careful when you're folding. So you don't want to be pulling the fabric. You just want to fold it over gently and press as you go. So that's been neatly pressed up to the straight edge. And by not pulling at the fabric, this is sitting nice and flat. If you were to pull it, you'd end up with a little bit of rippling. I'll do the same on this side. So we have both of those edges folded over once. And we want to fold that one more time. So where the fold is, just fold it straight back over. It's nice and easy this time because you've got a guideline there. And we'll do the same for the other side. And you'll do the same for the bottom edge. So you can fold it up once and press it, or you can just fold it up twice straight away, and you can do the same with this edge as well. But this being the straight grain of the fabric will be a lot easier. All right, we have all of the edges neatly pressed. The only ones we haven't done are the two short edges on the side here. We don't need to do anything with those at all. So come back up to the point at the top. You can see this little flap hanging out at the top there. What you can do to find the position to cut it off is pop a pin into the center point with both edges folded in. Open the fabric out, and my pin is right along here. So I can just get some scissors and cut straight across the top, fold those edges back in, but just at the very top, I'm just going to fold that over and pinch that together and pop a clip in place, and that will give me a nice point at the top of the triangle or the bottom of the triangle. So these edges are now ready to be stitched, so we can go along and sew this and these two edges. When you're sewing these two edges, you still don't want to be pulling, just let your machine guide the fabric through. We'll set that one aside. Grab this piece here. This is the right side, so we'll have the right side faced up. Fold the edges together, and we're going to sew straight along this edge here. So we'll go and do those two things now. I'm using a 1 centimetre seam allowance for this, which is 3/8 of an inch. Set that one aside, and then we'll stitch these folded edges over. So I'm starting off with a diagonal first. Doesn't matter which one you start with. We're going to sew close to the inside edge. Keep your needle down and turn your work around and then stitch down the other diagonal. And you can see how I wasn't pulling the fabric, it was just feeding itself through nice and evenly. And we'll do the bottom edge. So this one's been sewn and I've gone and pressed it just to give it a nice flat edge. We'll grab our band, and what we're going to do is open up the seam. Just press the seam open. And then I'm going to sit it flat. With the seam right down the centre. And I'll grab one of these safety pins, stick it into the fabric. Once I've done that, I'm just going to push that through the inside of the tube and keep feeding that through until it comes out the other end, and then I can start sliding that through. Remove your pin. Then we can find that seam, which is right along the top here, and we can give that another press. And by doing all that prep work before we turned it through, it'll actually make it a lot easier to give you a nice neat job quickly. And now we can cut our elastic. So I've cut my elastic to 6.5 inches, which is 16 centimetres roughly. I'm going to pop the pin in at one end and feed that through the band we've just made. And continue to feed that through until you can line up the edge of the fabric with the end of the elastic. So the elastic's sitting right on the very edge there. I'll pop a couple of clips in place just for added strength and continue on down this end. Feed your fabric down, it's going to ruffle up. And when you get your elastic to the other end, hang on to it, and we can clip that in place as well. And we're going to secure both ends now. Keep that fabric and elastic nicely secured and just stitch over the end. Flip it around and we'll do the same at this end. Okay, now that the elastic is secure in there, we can attach this to the head wrap or scarf. This is the right side of the fabric faced up. So the seams are stitched down on this side here. So we want the right side facing up and the straight edge along here. What you're going to do now, and at this point it really doesn't matter whether you have your seam side faced up or face down. It's no big deal because it's going to be on your head anyway. But I do want mine to be faced up because then that will be facing the inside of the fabric later. So what I'm going to do now is place that on the top of the straight edge and fold the bottom over and bring that edge up to encase this band. I'll pop a couple of clips in there just to secure that in place. And at this end, we're going to do the same. So I'll bring that across, line up the raw edge with the raw edge on this side. And then I'm going to fold the bottom up until this is all encased. So we'll now take both of these edges to the machine, sew that in place and that, and we're almost done. So I'm just going to stitch over this a few times. And the same at the other end. Then what I'm going to do is neaten the two raw edges, just to get any wispy bits off. And once you've done that, grab your band, pull that away from your fabric, and you can see how that has folded up underneath. We can top stitch this on the side where the raw edge of the elastic is. It's not necessary really, but I do like to do that. And the same for the other one. There we have it. We are all done. We've got a little ruffled band for the back of the head. Edges are all nicely folded over. And we've got a cute, very easy to make head scarf. So let's see how Earl looks with it. So the ruffled bit, the bit with the elastic, will go to the back of the head, and then the fabric will sit over the front of your head like this. Back of it. Doesn't Earl look amazing? So that was a simple project, wasn't it? It's just some folding over of the edges of your fabric, threading some elastic through, and you're done. Very quick to do. So let's see how it looks on Earl first. Well, actually, you guys already know because you've seen the beginning of the video. So I will pop the elastic section over the back of the head first, and then pop the head wrap over the front. It's probably going to be much easier on my own head than it will be on this guy's head. But there we go. Really simple design. Super quick. Just a few edges folded up. All right, let's see how I look in it. So there we go. I think I might probably make it a little bit longer. I'm not sure. It'll depend on how much hair I have when I go out in summertime. And these peaks, I kind of look like Sally Field from The Flying Nun at the moment, but those peaks will settle down when the fabric's been washed. It's still got all the chemicals in it, so it's quite firm. But once I've washed this a couple of times, and I think I'll go and do that shortly, that fabric will settle down quite easily. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall catch you next time. Bye for now.